Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Nobody Asked Us with Des and Kara, presented by Brooks Running. What do you think about that intro?
That
Check,
was
check,
so
check.
smooth.
Yeah,
Ding,
no
ding.
last names. Got the sponsors right. I feel like we're gonna have a good one. This feels like a good day
I
for
feel
a
like
good
we're all
day.
sleep deprived today.
Yeah, a little bit. This is an early morning recording for us, and it's a Monday. I mean, not to
Mhm.
give time and place away when this comes out on a Tuesday, but that's where we're at right now
Right.
mentally. How
Yes.
you doing? What's new? What's going on in your life, Kara?
Not too much. Just life is good. Colt's doing great. He's
Yes.
going to go to running practice today for the first time, so I'm excited about that. He has decided with a little, actually I'm going to shout out Robbie Andrews because
Nice.
he was like, I can't do it. I trained so hard. I don't want to do it unless I can do it the way I thought I was going to do it. And Robbie was like, dude, you should just go have fun. Like be there for your teammates. And so he's going to go to practice today. There's only like 16 days left in the season, but he's going to go
Crazy short season.
and just do whatever he has. So I'm really proud of him. So I'm excited about that. And
Well, you also
yeah.
posted a photo recently of him on his bike at practice. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Because that was cool.
Yeah. So they have a meet every Wednesday for 4 weeks. And last Wednesday was the first meet. And the night before he's like, well, you're going to come to the meet, right, Mom? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, no, probably not. And he was like, why? You have to cheer everyone on. So Adam and I went to the meet and it was actually amazing. They had let Colt be the lead bike. So he got to bike in front of everybody and he got to be a part of it, on a small level, but still he got to be a part of it. So he was super excited about that. And that kind of led his intrigue of, I think I want to do it because it was, all the parents cheering and, they just have dual meets until the last meet, but there was still a lot of people out on the course cheering. And he just said that was really fun, but running's fun, more fun. So I was
Did he say
super
funner
happy.
though?
It's funner. It's funner to run. So I was happy. His coaches were awesome to let him do that. And it made him feel like he got to be a part of the day. And I think he'll probably do it again this Wednesday because you have to run so many practices to be allowed to race. And he won't have hit that many days by Wednesday. So I doubt he'll be able to race. I would be shocked if they let him race. So
Wow.
he'll probably be lead bike again.
I I love that because even the Colt Goucher, has to hit the number of practices required to compete. That's crazy. It's crazy how that works. No one's
That's
above the
right. Maybe
law.
that'll come back up again later, huh?
Maybe. Perhaps. That's cool. What else is going on? Anything else outside of running? How's the I mean, I don't want to give too much of your life away, but how's the home situation?
It's
You guys in
good.
a one piece or
It's good. We're moved completely. Well, we're not completely moved in. So everything that
Are
the
you ever
remodel
completely moved
the
in?
remodel is basically done. Just some painting, repainting has to be done, and then some cupboard, so like the face of cupboards have to be
Mhm.
replaced. There's like 20 that have to still be replaced, but in general, like we're moved it back in and fine. The one thing that isn't done is that we finished this new basement and we moved everything that had been in the basement down to our gym, where Adam put in new flooring right before we did that to make it like a gym. So now we have this beautiful gym with a bunch of crap on it. And so Adam and I have been trying to decide what's the best way to go through this stuff and get rid of stuff and stuff we want to keep, where are we going to put it. So anyway, that's been a little bit stressful, but we've decided, I pitched this idea of 30 minutes a day until it's done. Because you can do
Oh, okay.
anything for 30 minutes. And I
Yeah.
actually think like there'll be some days where we work longer. And I think we could get it done in like week and a half. But Adam's like just dreading it. He hates stuff like that. But I want my
Procrastinating?
gym back.
Yeah.
I need my
Yeah,
gym,
that's important.
Des.
Well,
Yeah.
also cooler temps are on the way. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
need an inside
That's
workout
right.
space.
I need my space. And so that's sort of the last phase, right? Like we don't do the painting or the cabinet. Whenever they come, they come. And the house is totally functional, but we have to do this whole basement situation. So that's the last step. But yeah, no, everything else is done. Colt's room turned out awesome. He has like a bookcase that opens up to a secret room. Like that
I
kid is
love it.
living the life. I'll have to
That's
send you a
awesome.
video. Yeah, everything is done and our bathroom is done. Everything's great. So that's all good and happy. Actually, one silver lining was that they knocked that out while we were at the hospital, past final inspection and everything. So they were like,
He was like, "I'm so sick of this place
yeah,
not
he's like,
being ready for
I
me.
just want
I'm
to
gonna go
sleep
to
in
the
my room.
hospital.
Yeah, yeah.
This has made
No,
me
no.
sick."
It's good. It's
Funny.
really good. We're happy to be on this side of it. And it was definitely worth it. But,
Do you do
first world
that with
problems.
do you do that with clothing where you're like, I gotta get rid of X amount and make space? Like, I feel like everyone should take 30 minutes a day and get rid of shit in their house that like is just extra.
So I have a system that a lot of people think is crazy, but if something comes
Let's
in,
hear
something
it.
has to go out. So
Love
like
that.
if I get a box of clothes from Oiselle and there's 10 shirts in it, 10 shirts have to leave my closet or dresser. Or if I
Uh-huh.
buy a new shirt or a pair of pants or whatever, then that has to leave because I can't stand stuff.
Yeah.
But then I have weird stuff, Des. Like, so I'm really good when it comes to
Weird
like
stuff.
clothes or kitchen items or things
Yeah.
like that. But then
What's
I
your
have
hoarding
like
tendency? What is it?
boxes and boxes of magazines and articles and bibs and crap like that like my family saved for me or that I just set aside. And it's like, Adam's like, why are you hanging on to that? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's like some special memory in there that I need. And people are like, just go through it. But I'm telling you, I'm talking about like huge ass Tupperwares.
Piles.
I went through one box when I was writing my book with my co-author, and it took us hours. And so the
Yeah.
thought of going through all of them makes me want to cry. And so part of me is like, just throw it out. I don't even
You
know
don't
what's
even
in
know what's
there.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then part of me is like, there might be like a note for my grandpa or so that's the kind of crap I hold on to.
Or you'll have a day where you're like, I remember this thing, it's in that box, and like you'll have a very specific, like it I know exactly where it is, and then you threw it out and you're like devastated.
Yes, I threw it out. Yeah. So it's like I'm not attached to clothes or metals or anything. I'm attached to
Yeah.
pieces of paper that I don't even know what's on them.
I like it. That's like
What about you? What's
good
your
stuff.
thing that you hang on to?
Well, I'm gonna interject really quickly and just say, in terms of clothes, one thing that people are not gonna want to get rid of. You're going to want to get rid of 7 pieces to bring in this new thing. If you're on YouTube, you'll notice that Kara and I are wearing matching, almost matching white sweaters, sweatshirts. She's gone with the crop model. Love that for
I
you.
did
I
that for
think
you because I
that's
knew you
great.
wouldn't wear it.
And I have the full length. I'm not going to stand up because I'm holding my microphone. But nobody asked me, is what it says. And it's the official Nobody Asked Us merch. Round one available. Go to the show notes.
No,
We're not really sure where because Chris does
we didn't
everything
do
for
it.
us. He was like, let's get this out. Let's get this moving. We can perfect it later. But
Yeah.
this is the OG merch. Go get a Nobody Asked Me. There's hoodies. There's crop hoodies. It's got the logo on the back. It's not really a logo, but it's our, album
There's
cover.
mugs. Mine's
There's
in
mugs.
Minnesota, but there's mugs.
Yeah, mine's here. I didn't bring it. I should have. I did not think that through. I was so focused on wearing the white hoodie. But they're great. It's like a nice. The inside of a new sweatshirt is
It is nice.
unbeatable. It's
It's like
unbeatable.
a nice
So
thin sweatshirt, I will say. It's not
mhm.
heavy. It's light,
Yeah,
which I like about it.
yeah. I was wearing the blue one when we started because it's actually pretty cold in Michigan right now. But this actually feels better now. I feel like it's the right weight. Anyhow, that's a piece that you're going to want to keep in your house. You're not going to throw it out ever. Nobody asked me. Get the OG. This will be probably collectors soon as we
It
upgrade
will.
and,
We're going to be upgrading, but
season 2 and yada yada. But show that you're an original fan.
that's
Get
right.
the merch with the link in the show notes.
Okay, but that was a really great way for you to avoid my question of what are things that you hang on to?
What do I have? I have books. I keep a
Mm,
lot of books around that I feel like bad throwing out a book.
I know, but then you read it once and
Um,
you're like, do I really need this? But
but also it's the same sort of thing where like I'll underline and take a note or something. It's like one fucking line of a long book. And then I'm like, but I need that note. Like there's something in that one that just really spoke to me. There's a line that I loved. You just take a photo of it and put it in a notes like folder. So I do that. I have a lot. I'm sitting in 2 stacks right here on this desk. Um, and then clothes I'm not great at, but I'll like when I'm ready to purge, I'm like, it all goes. And then I have like 3 shirts. I'm like, shoot, I don't have enough to get through the week. So
does
yeah, I'm like,
Ryan purge clothes?
No, he hangs on to a lot. And one thing that he's really funny about that drives me nuts is he'll get new things and he'll be like, "Oh, I got like a bunch of new socks," or like, "I got the dogs a bunch of new toys." And then he'll hang on to them for like a really long time. I'm like, just open it up and like wear the
Right,
socks or give them to like,
right.
it'll be like 3 years later and there'll be like pile of new things. And I'm like, this is what was the point of this? Like,
Right.
use it or throw it away. So that one drives me crazy. He has
So
like a lot.
Adam
Go ahead.
no, no, finish
I just
your
he has
thought.
a lot of like self control with
Oh,
new
purchasing.
things or
Yeah.
gifts or like we got that new Brooks box,
Oh,
which
yeah,
we can
yeah.
talk about a little later. And I'm like, where's the opening? I'm gonna unscrew this thing so I can see what's in there. I'm not waiting for that timer where Ryan would be like, I'm not even gonna open it when the timer's up. We can talk about that later. But go
No,
ahead.
let's
What?
talk about it. Well, I was just going to say that Adam is the complete opposite of me because he'll be like, well, why would I get rid of that? There's nothing wrong with it. And I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, but you don't need 50 shirts or whatever. You
right.
only wear 3 of them. So for years, I've just gone through and paired out his closet. I'm like the elf.
He
But
doesn't even know.
I have messed up a few times. A few times
Uh-oh.
I've messed up where he's like, "Where are my painting pants?" And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know." He's like, "There was like a pile of clothes right here." And I'm like,
Not
I don't know."
anymore.
And I'm like, I threw that out.
Yeah.
I didn't throw it out. I give everything away. But
Well, painting pants, like you can
I've
make new ones.
I've definitely messed up quite a few times. But in general, I get rid of so much of his stuff and he has no idea.
Love it. You have to. Otherwise it just piles up.
Okay, let's talk about the box though.
Yeah.
What was your thought when you opened it?
Okay, this huge package came. It's like top of my thigh.
It's
Um,
huge and heavy.
yeah. I came back from San Diego. Got home at like midnight and obviously I have a ton of packages because I'm always ordering stuff apparently. And I was like, I didn't order this. And then it was really heavy and I was like, what? Like, what is this? So I opened it up and then I had to tip it over because it was too heavy for me and like slide it out and it says, like the direction you should keep it up. And then you could see the product and they're like tumbling out. I'm like, oh, I've ruined this. So I don't know if mine will even work, but it's this massive Brooks box and it's under lock. Like you plug it in and it lights up. I
Mhm.
wish I'd brought mine in here, but it's too heavy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
huge.
I think we'll post it on. You posted yours on Insta. I'll put mine up eventually. Um, and now you just have to wait till like the 17th.
I know, that's wild, right? So it's locked and you can't just open it up. We had a friend over for dinner last night and he tried to just open it up and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh man, that is locked." I'm like, "Yeah, I
That's
know."
the point. But if you tip it over and you look on the bottom, there's like a little. That's the panel, you know.
Oh, you
So it,
cheated.
I no, I didn't open it, but I'm the type of person who's like, I want to know how to break the code.
Yeah, no, you gotta go with it.
So
I'll
they're
tell
gonna
you who.
go
Oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
They're unveiling a new style of Brooks shoes,
Mhm.
and we don't know what like you kind of know what they are. They give you the paper, but like
But
you
we're not
can't
supposed to
see
talk about it.
them. You don't know what they
Yeah.
look like. It's just this mystery box. And then on a certain day, I think it's the 17th.
It is the 17th.
Yeah,
Then it's gonna unlock, and there's a countdown timer on the box
right. Let's
with
hope it doesn't
days,
explode.
hours, minutes, and seconds,
This
right?
is
I
like,
mean, it's very
yeah,
elaborate. I'll tell you who loves that box and who's like, do you have to send that back?" Colt.
yeah, yeah. He's like, what are we putting in there after?
He's like, "Margot could be in there." This morning, he was,
Right.
like, talking about all the things he could put in there.
He's
Because when you
waiting
plug
for
it
it.
in, it lights up. He's like, "Margot could hang out in there. A bunch of agates could go in there." Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Oh my god."
He's ready for that. I don't care about the shoes, mom. Like,
Right.
open the box so we can get them
So
out.
I can have the box.
Yeah, it could be like a fish tank. The problem is it's like what's the
Yeah,
glass
like
is
that tempered
tempered.
glass. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's not glass, it's plastic, but yeah,
you can't
you
see
can't
through
see
it.
through it. So we wouldn't know what Margot was doing. She could be having a
Right.
party in there and be like, "Looks fun, the lights are on." Club it. So, I
um,
love that. I think it's super creative. I'm excited to see what's in there. I don't know, it might break down, might not. We'll see. I'll let you know.
it's like definitely the coolest reveal that I've ever had of all the shoe companies I'd work with. I'm not gonna lie. but it is
Yeah.
big. So I was telling you, I was at the gym and Adam texted me and he's like, "What did you buy from Brooks?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And he's like, "You just got a huge package and it
Liar.
says fragile on it. It is so heavy." And I'm like, "I didn't order anything." Also,
Yeah.
what would I order that's fragile from
Yeah, from the
Brooks?
Brooks. There's nothing on the site, like, scrolling through.
Yeah, so I
They
came
did
home and he helped me open it and I was like, "Wow, damn,
whoa.
that's cool."
They did a pretty good one. This was years ago. It was so random because I don't think it was in the spring around Easter, but they had like this 5 pound chocolate egg, and then the shoes
Oh,
just sat inside there so that you were done, and it was just like a massive piece of chocolate. That was
that's pretty
interesting.
cool.
It was cool.
That sounds yummy. Was the chocolate good? Was it legit chocolate?
It was good chocolate. Yeah, I didn't eat all 5 pounds, but here it was. It was all, yeah, like now you need to run.
And go run.
Exactly. But that they have some fun. They did a spaceship one, like a whole box was like like some fun ones. But this is probably the most. I don't know. It's frustrating for me, but unique for others.
Yeah, you by the time this episode comes out tomorrow, you're gonna have to wait a week. You can do it.
I know. I know. I don't know. We'll see.
She's gonna break hers open with a
Just
hammer.
throwing it around. Like I
Uh,
know it's in there too. It's a pair of shoes that will feel
that
probably
are gonna feel
amazing, but
awesome.
like a
Yeah.
lot of other shoes. So
Yes.
anyhow, that's the latest. Um, Anything else to catch up on?
Well, what about you? You just took a trip to San Diego. How was that?
It was good. It was good to go home. It was my mom's birthday, and the Padres were playing the Tigers. So we took her to the baseball game. That was really fun. But the reason I was out there was for a Brooks event, Brooks Future Run, where they give a grant to a high school that's in need. And so I got to go back to my high school and give them, like, they got kitted out in like running clothes and shoes, and then they get like $1,000 check for the season to just help them. Um, and that was cool. It was really fun. I love that program. I love working with Carly at Brooks. She's awesome. So that was a bonus to get to hang out with her. But honestly, like walking back into your high school, I was like,
How are the kids? Because are worried that high school kids are mean sometimes.
they were fine. The kids were awesome.
Okay.
And like, it was funny because I was like, oh, everyone just like went back to school. I'll talk to them about like, hey, you're finding your friend group, and like, there's all these different groups in like campus, and they're like football players are hanging out together, and like and you're finding the cross country people. And let's be honest, most of the cross country people are like the misfit toys. They're like kind of weird. And then you find your people and you're like, oh, like I can be myself here. And then everyone opens up and you're like, these kids are actually really cool. So I'm
Yeah.
telling them all that about like thinking, time framing this around like school just starting. And they started like mid July. Like, wow.
What?
I know. I was like, that makes no sense at all. So apparently they all start mid July and they're already like pretty solidified in their friend groups. And they were like, I don't know what this lady's talking about. But they were all awesome. They were super excited. It was like this crazy 85-degree day. Felt a little bad because the girls got pants. And we're like, okay, put on all your gear. Let's go for a run. And they're like, ah, this sucks. It's like, you'll like them in like a month.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they were stoked, and everyone was. I mean, when you give kids free stuff, they're just geeked out. They were like,
Yeah.
"This is
What a
the
cool
best." Yeah, it
opportunity. That
was
sounds
fun.
awesome. Good job. I know I
Have
saw
you
you at a high
have
school.
you
I was
gone?
like,
Yeah,
whoa, Des.
have you gone back to a high school? Have you gone back to your high school ever?
I have not recently, but I
Okay.
have. I'm trying to think. Adam and I went and talked to him once, and they were like so unimpressed. It was like when we were both still running. I'm like, I only graduated at that point like 10 years ago. Like, how are you guys not a little bit more like cool?
Yeah.
But I do meet up sometimes with some of the girls when I go back to Duluth and try to do a run with them or just talk to them or whatever.
That's pretty neat.
The team is huge, so I don't see them all. I would love to go and like watch. There used to be this big meet called the Swain Invitational, and I was like, when I'm older, I'm going to go every year to the Swain Invitational, and it got canceled 2 years ago. So it was really sad. But I love the high school level. I'm actually speaking to Adam's team tomorrow, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Is he enjoying coaching? So
Yeah.
far, so good.
So far, so
Maybe
good. I mean,
it's been
he
a week.
loves this particular arena of running, right? Because he's like,
Mhm.
it's so pure. It doesn't matter if you're first or last. Everyone is on their own journey. It's like the softest part of Adam Goucher that you'll ever see. And it's cool for me to see him in that place. And so yeah, no, he's really liking it so far. And I'm like, this is where he should be. Like long term, if he wants to do something with running, this is where he should probably be.
That's awesome. That's cool to find that place. And I think there is a lot to that where it's just kids getting joy out of moving
Hmm.
forward fast, right? It's like when you're
Yeah.
a little kid and you don't know how to run and you're not worried about form and you're just like, yay,
Yeah.
that's it. And then you channel that into competition. For a very brief moment, it's fun and pure, and then it turns into a monster.
That's
But
right.
that's
No, it's
okay.
really cool. I love high school running. I just think it's so the most pure form, you know.
Yeah,
I like college too, but high school definitely is best in my opinion.
agree. Well, a less pure form of running, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Okay.
How do you like that? How do you
That's
like
very
that?
good.
I think this was pretty fun. This is kind of like going back to the heart of the love of the game. What did you think of the Mondo de Plates versus, did I get his last name right? Versus Karsten Warholm, 100 meters,
I
solve the
love
beef.
this so much. I loved it. So Adam and I watched it live and it
Yeah,
was like a build up to this 100-meter race. That part was a little like
long.
long and like they're on the track and it's just the two of them there, and I'm like, play some crazy music, and there's like piano playing in the background and they're like interviewing people trackside. But look, they tried something new and I freaking loved it. Like I could see them
Mhm.
doing it again with like a lot more action going on, but it I loved it so much. What did you think?
I thought it was great. Loved the hype around it. I mean, you have two guys that are super talented. They're getting out of their comfort zone. The build up was fun. I thought some of the pre-show stuff was a little long. Like they could have
Hmm.
tightened up the interview, but I don't know what the logistics were. I'm sure that was like a media thing, or I'm not really sure. But um, it was cool. I think people were really interested in how these two world class athletes would fare in something different but familiar, and I enjoyed it. I was like invested in it. I wanted to see how it played out, and it met the expectations for me.
I loved it so much. So we have this thread at NBC, and Trey Hardy, no one is happier. The person happier than Mondo is Trey Hardy, because Trey Hardy is always like, Mondo Duplantis is one of the best athletes in the world. You guys don't understand the speed it takes to carry that heavy pull, because he has to have such a heavy
Hmm.
pull to like get himself so high. They're like, you guys have no idea. He's always talking about it. In fact, in Paris one night, he totally lost his shit and was like going crazy with Sonia and Otto. And I just like walked away because I was like, this is
I
like
don't
taking it
care.
way too far.
Yeah.
But so we all had this thing of like, who thought who's going to win. And I was like, Warholm is just a bullet out of the blocks. Like, I'm sorry, Mondo might run him down, but he's going to be at a disadvantage. And learning how to run out of the box when you haven't done it in so long, like I'm, you know, and again, I'm not thinking about how fast Mondo is. I'm thinking like if I was told you have to race someone in 3 weeks, I'd be like screwed, right? Even
Yeah.
if I'm better because I can't get out of the blocks. So we all had our bets, and I said, I'm voting for Warholm, but I'm sad. I want it to be Mondo for you, Trey. So when it was over, Trey was like, sent us all this video. He's like, I told you. And I thought that was very cool because I thought it authenticated that the field events are real athletes. Like we don't always get that perspective of
Yeah.
just how talented they are. So I was super happy for him. Colt also wanted Mondo. I showed him the video after school and he was running around celebrating. So I just thought it was so well done. I thought Warholm handled it really well. It seemed to me like Mondo took it so seriously. And like
Yeah.
Warholm was like, I got this.
Yeah.
And
I,
then, yeah,
I thought it would favor Warholm, to be
yeah,
honest. Like, again, the blocks, but also it just seemed like so much closer to what
he
he
does.
does, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get out of the blocks, but I mean, 400 hurdles is a bit of an endurance event. So I
Hmm.
guess you could see how the pure speed might not be there. Like, 200, is it the same? Or where does that distance tip in his favor? But Mondo is like a big question mark. Can he get
Yeah.
out of the blocks? How fast is he really? Like, are they, fudging a little bit because he's carrying the pole? Are we overestimating that? But he solved it.
Yeah,
That was
he was gone.
ridiculous. Yeah.
I did feel a little bad watching it because it seemed like everyone there wanted Mondo.
Like, why
They
am I
would
even
like
doing this?
everyone they interviewed, they'd be like, "Who are you for?" They're like, "Mondo, Mondo,
Yeah.
Mondo." But I thought Karsten handled it well. I thought it was awesome. I would love to see more stuff like that. I know that Mondo said he'd be happy to race Sydney McLaughlin Levrone over 400. I doubt it'll happen, but I like that he's just like, sure, I'll do it. Um, it was cool. It was fun. Like we interrupted our day to watch it. It was awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have been like, this is what track and field needs. We need more of this. This is how you're going to get new fans. Is this sort of thing going to save track and field, or is it for
I mean,
dedicated fans who are already here? Like, where does it fit in?
right. I mean, did anyone from ESPN join it live?
Right.
No.
There wasn't any articles.
Right. I
Like,
think it
you're
was
not
like
getting
hardcore
the.
fans. So, I mean, I loved it. I thought
Yeah.
it was super clever. I thought Red Bull and Puma put it on. They did an awesome job. I loved it. Does it change the landscape? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we could see more of these matches at the end of the season, which would be really fun. Does it bring in more fans? I don't know about that because you got to know who Mondo Duplantis and Karsten Warholm are to care. And you have to know how good they are at their craft to care, right? So if you're not like a
Hmm.
diehard fan, you might not know that Karsten Warholm has won everything there is. He's a world record holder. Mondo Duplantis has broke the world record, I don't know, like 50 times. I don't even know anymore. Right. So it's like he broke the world record at the Olympics and at the meet after. So you have to know all these things to be invested and to realize how different the 400 hurdles and the pole vault are. And I don't
Hmm.
know that like an average fan gets that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think it's been kind of funny to see the reactions. I think the production was great. I think the
Mhm.
fact that you had a big window to showcase one event was the bigger thing to me. Like,
Mm.
yeah, you can interrupt with commercials here and there if they wanted to, which they didn't have to, but you can still tell a full story. So, in that respect, like if you did, Lyle's Tobogo head to head, one race, and did that type of like maybe there's something to the structure that could be used for the sport to grow the sport.
Mhm.
But in terms of like not gimmicky, but it's sort of like this is a fun diehard
Right.
track fan thing. But
Right.
I think the structure, there's something to that that could be used moving forward. Is
Mhm.
my take on it.
Yeah.
Well, there was also um, a full meet after that.
There was.
Did you catch any of the Zurich Diamond League?
I actually watched the whole thing. I had a
Good
break
for
in
you.
my day. I folded laundry and watched it. Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird. It was rainy, so I feel like it affected especially some of the throws and the sprints. Sometimes when
Hmm.
it's raining, you see massive distance breakthroughs, but usually it's right after the rain stops, or at least that's what my coach Mark Wetmer used to always tell me, that something special happens right when rain stops, and it was kind of going the whole time. Beatrice Gibet attempted a world record, the first sub 14 minute in the 5K. She fell a little short. I think she ended up running like 14:10 or something like that.
Yeah, 9-10.
She was so far ahead, it was like weird
Yeah,
because
it's
it
like
wasn't
old
like there were
school creepy
chumps in the
god.
race. There was like
Right.
really, really great athletes in the race. It's just weird. Um, and then, of course, I think the biggest hyped meet or event that I was paying attention to was the men's 1500 because it was essentially a rematch of Paris, but with pacers and pace lights.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of distance perspective. All eyes were on that. And what'd you think? Did it deliver or did it disappoint?
Um, it was a little disappointing for me. I don't know. I just thought like, oh, we're going to see some really fast times. But again, I think people are tired, like
Hmm.
Josh Kerr just looked flat. Of course, then he came back and we'll talk about that and looked a lot better a few days later, but he just looked flat from the whole time. So did Cole Hawker. He looked kind of flat like when a gap started to open up. So essentially Inga Britson went behind the pacemaker. Nagus went on his shoulder. Then it was Josh Kerr, and then it was Cole Hawker on him. And when a gap started to open up between Nagus and Kerr, Cole Hawker didn't go around and close the gap. So like he looked flat too. We knew that Inga Britson was sick. A lot of people are saying he's making excuses. Like he said a week beforehand he was sick. So I don't really know. Like
Yeah, I
I feel
mean,
like I'm weirdly turning into an Ingebrigtsen fan, I think. I'm like, he's sick.
Careful,
And
careful.
I
Here comes the
well, I know.
emails.
God. Okay. I like them all. Okay.
There you
But
go.
I'm like, we know this guy is sick. We know he's under the weather. They're not running as fast as they thought. And yet he doesn't get past till the final 80.
They ran 7:17. Like he's
Right.
fit.
Well, yeah. Well, we know he's fit, right? But it's just like I'm like, this guy controls the pace no matter what
Right.
version of him shows up. And this is why I'm turning into a little bit of a fan. He still just goes for it. He's like, I know they're going to sit on me. I know they're going to hope to out kick me. I know I'm under the weather, but I'm still going to go for it. And there's something about that that I just respect. He's like, instead of turning around and being like, can someone help
Right.
here?
Yo, take a lap. Take a lap,
He
bro.
just, and like I was actually talking about it with Colt because Colt's a hardcore 1500-meter fan. And, I was like, I was impressed by Nugoose, but also I wanted Nugoose to go, like go with a lap to go. He looked better than Ingebrigtsen.
Mhm.
Colt's like, Mom, let Nugoose have his moment. He doesn't win that often. Like just let him, he needs to get more steps. And it was interesting hearing his perspective, but it was good. I was really excited to see all four of those men put their egos aside and race again.
Mhm.
But it was nothing like the Olympic final.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a totally different motivation factor,
Yeah.
peak level. I mean, the incentives on the line are there's nothing to lose in Zurich,
Right.
really. But I guess if you just got a medal and you're like, I don't really want to lose, you know what I mean? It's just sort
Yeah.
of there's a lot of reasons that it is not as exciting as the games, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
I was impressed that they all went and did it though, because like only one person could win. And so three people were going to be disappointed. And Hocker is the Olympic champion. He could just sit on his laurels now and be like, I can't race right now. I'm tired. And everyone would understand. Kerr is one of those people who really focuses on one big race, and it's so hard to race after that. It is so hard when all of your focus is on one day. And then it seems like Nugoose has just been really fit all year, honestly, and he's just been
mhm.
figuring it out. And then Ingebrigtsen is kind of on this upswing because he was injured earlier in the year. So anyway, they're all in different places, but I was impressed that they all, put their egos aside, knowing that the odds were that they weren't going to win or whatever, right? And they still showed up and still raced. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a definitely a late season treat and the last one of the year, really, because
Mhm.
we saw Josh Kerr head off to New York to close out his season, and then what is it? Brussels will be the Diamond League final,
Mhm.
which will be a exciting race, but not quite the same matchup as that was.
Right.
All right, what did you think? Did you
Check.
watch? What's that?
Check. I'm checking our
Check
list.
in the list. Okay, we did that. Did you watch Fifth Ave? That was this weekend. Obviously, road race in New York, put on by the New York Roadrunners, mile down Fifth Ave, straight shot. Have you ever run Fifth Ave mile?
No, so I haven't, but I really
Should
want
jump
to.
in that.
So the year of COVID, my entire goal was to run there and try to break 5 minutes for probably the last time of my life. And then it didn't happen. But I will admit, I was looking up the 46 to 49 age category
Okay.
yesterday, and Jensen St. Jean ran like 5:14, but she's 49, so she won't be in that category next year. I'm
Yeah.
definitely intrigued about running it. I think it would be really
Okay.
fun, but no, I have never run it. I've been out there for the New York Roadrunners just to help promote it. I've been out there twice to work it for NBC, but I haven't run it. Have you run it?
We should do that maybe next year.
Let's do
We
it. I'm
we could do
serious. I want to
a
do it.
live pod out there and then do
I'm
the
gonna
Fifth
get
Ave
my ass
mile.
kicked, but I'm like, I don't know. If I trained and focused and got my dystonia, like was really smart,
Just in
could I
line,
run
yeah.
sub 5:30?
It's also a straight shot. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of your troubles
Oh,
are in turns
turns are
and stuff,
terrible for me, right? And it's just
so
straight ahead. Yeah.
I've never run it. I'm super intrigued by it just because the straight shot mile is just a mind F. Like, you could just see
See
the
the
end of
finish
it,
forever. Yeah.
but you're like, "How hard can I go out? Like, can I" I mean, I'm sure you have splits out there, but just the perspective of it, it's gotta
Yeah.
just throw you off. Um, alright, let's put it on the calendar.
I'm serious.
Showdown
I would love to do that.
showdown on Fifth Ave next year.
But those race results were a little bit surprising to me. I mean, Josh Kerr broke the record that stood
Mhm.
for, I don't
Since
know.
beginning of the event, right?
Yeah. And he was so dominant. Again, like watching Beatrice Chebet, it was like he was running a different race than everyone else.
Yeah.
And after looking flat just a few days earlier, right? And having to have an international flight. So,
And you're right, in the long flight.
yeah, like I was very impressed by his race. And then on the women's side, Carissa Schweitzer
That was
dominated it.
crazy.
It was
Yeah.
crazy. So we
How
know
far
her as a
back was
5,000.
she? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Just
Well, we
give her
know
bio.
she's a 5,000, 10,000 meter runner, right? Two-time Olympian in the 5,000. Also ran the 10,000 this year. I don't think she ran the 10,000 in Tokyo, but I could be wrong. Actually, she did. She doubled in
She did.
Tokyo and in Paris. We've seen her double at Eugene World Champs, although she got injured. She is just, we know her as, NCAA cross country champion. We know she has speed because she's run, I think she has run right under 4 minutes or right at 4 minutes before. But her season's been good. It's been solid. I kept thinking we're going to see her break through because she had a late start to her season.
Mhm.
We're going to see something like she's like, just to be clear, she's making the Olympic final. She's doing she's
Right.
doing everything right. But I kept thinking like, oh, we're going to see like a 14:20 out of her, and we just didn't quite see it. And then she runs this mile and blows away all the milers and ties the event record. She runs 4:14.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's crazy.
Right. And she's someone that you're like, I don't know about her kick late.
Right.
Just Cranny's got her number. I mean, like Wayne Kaladi outkicked her,
Yes.
and Valby. Didn't
And
Valby?
Valby.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
so.
she
It's like
ended
that's
up
not her
third.
strength per se,
Yeah.
and then she
Never
just put
mind.
on a show.
It
Yeah.
makes me think like maybe she should not run the 10 for a year. And I mean she did the year, I want to say it was the year of Budapest. She had qualified in the 10, maybe it was Eugene, I can't remember anymore. She had qualified in the 10 because they had it earlier. And then she ran
Mm-hmm.
the
That was
15-5 double at USA's, and she was on the team running into the finish line at 15, and someone basically, I can't remember who,
leaned.
out leaned her. I was
Yeah.
like, damn, that
Oh.
girl almost made the team. I mean, that's the fun on stuff. So we
Yeah.
know she has speed. Then she's had surgery since then, and she's had some hiccups, but I was not expecting that. Even too, because after the race in Zurich, they're like, are you racing anymore? And she's like, I don't know. I might run Fifth Ave. I need to talk to my coach. Oh, I guess I will. And I'll win and I'll tie the course record.
But sometimes that's what you need is that race that it's like, I don't know, we'll just see what happens. And
Yeah.
there's no weight on your shoulders, there's no expectations. You just go let her rip. And she did,
I
which
didn't
was
watch it
crazy.
live, but I went back and was watching. She was running so fast, Des. I was just like, what the heck, man? She is talented. And
Yeah.
I feel like she's been around forever, but she's still 28, I think. So I
I
think
don't
the
know. I mean,
biggest
I
challenge
think
for her is staying healthy, right? When she's
yeah.
healthy, she's crazy good.
I think that to me just says that she's made for the roads.
I bet she
I
could
mean,
run a crazy half,
that's what
honestly.
I was thinking. I was wondering prior to that, like, how are you thinking about moving up? When are you thinking about, like, is it Houston in the spring?
Hmm.
I guess winter. Like, if you're a 10K person, you got to start flirting with that side of things. But if you
Maybe
go
she
rip a
does
mile
Great
like that,
North
yeah,
after World Champs next year or something.
yeah,
I don't know. I'd love to see her run a half though. That'd be
yeah.
good.
That the half's going to be fun. With, I mean, I don't know. You don't want to push people to move up too soon, but I think there's a handful of folks who can go really get after it, and then you start thinking about the idea of the marathon, which is a whole different beast. But the half gets you excited about it at least,
Yeah,
which
and
is
I
good.
think Schumacher training is really well suited for the marathon because
Okay,
it's 16 by a mile on the grass. It's 2.5 hour long runs. It's
right.
a lot of really, I mean, Jerry
Volume.
just believes in big, big volumes. So I think an athlete like her could transition to it pretty well. But anyway,
That's
super
exciting.
impressive run by
Well,
her.
on that sort of note, let's talk a little bit. Well, there's two things, I guess. Let's talk about fall marathons first. Have you kept an eye on any of the fields coming out? Berlin's coming up soon. I haven't done my homework on Berlin, to be honest. Chicago looks exciting.
Hmm.
And then obviously we have New York farther down the line. What's your excitement level for the fall marathons? Just really generally, we're going to tease this because it'll be a big topic moving forward, but not so much right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know what's happening in Berlin. I haven't paid enough attention. So I'm excited because CB, our friend CB, is running it, but other than that, I don't
Yeah.
know what's happening there. Um, I think Chicago for me has become more about chasing times, which is
Mm-hmm.
fun, but it's less about the head-to-head competition. And I'm just sort of craving that right now after the Olympics where we got so much of that. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to New York where we can not talk about time and we can just see athletes go head to head. Of course, Chicago will be exciting. And I think one of the challenges is that the time standards for the world championships and the Olympics are getting so hard that
Mm-hmm.
as if I was still an elite athlete, I would have to make sure I'm working in a Chicago or a London or a Berlin into my year because otherwise I might not have a chance to hit the time necessary. Like when I was racing, I could hit those times in New York and Boston and it was fine. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the times are so fast now that you're not going to hit them or there's a chance that you might not hit them. And so it's forcing athletes to really focus on these faster races. So I'm not faulting the athletes, and also obviously fast times are exciting, but I just feel like in all of this we've lost a little bit of competition. Yeah,
Which
sorry,
is
that's
so
probably not where
funny.
you thought I was going to go with
No, no,
that.
it's totally fine. I think that it is really funny because it does become a strategy where I think the bar is going to keep moving. There's still room to improve with the shoes and the training and whatever else is contributing to such fast times that we're seeing. Um, so I think the goal of moving that standard so fast is that less people will get the standard
Mhm.
so that you have to go to the head to head rankings and
Mm.
that sort of thing, which I don't love that system anyways. Like I don't understand it. It's super
Right.
complex. Like who's picking these rankings, whatever, what's the value, so on and so forth. But I think I still think enough people are going to get they're just going to step up and hit that time. So I'm not sure it's going to work the way it's intended to yet again, but who knows? And I think the point being, as an athlete, you have to pick your strategy. Like, do you go
Mhm.
and try to run the fast, or you just like try and figure out the game of the ranking and like cherry pick stuff and piece together enough points to be ranked where that time is irrelevant,
Right.
which is it's a weird way to play the game that should be just really straightforward.
Right.
Like who's
Yeah.
better than who won, who's fastest.
I mean, the good thing is we're getting great fields in every major, right? Because everybody needs these opportunities. So that's one thing as a fan that's exciting is that all the fields are stacked no matter what major it is anymore. You know, like maybe sometimes there was like only a couple people in Berlin or only a couple people in New York or whatever. Now
Hmm.
it's like every race is just stacked because people need to race. They need to get their ranking or their time. So as a fan, like that's good.
Yeah, and the depth is crazy too. Like you just have
Hmm.
so many people running so well. Well, one thing that is exciting, I think, for our pod
Hmm.
is that we have a partner that's back on board for the fall here. We're partnering up with TCS again, and TCS, fantastic company in innovation and technology. They do a ton um, across all kinds of things that it's even hard to pinpoint exactly what they do, but we're going to try and hone in on what they do for the running community throughout the next couple episodes so we can share that with you folks. The TCS New York City Marathon, they're the title sponsor there. And they do a lot of the apps, the tracking apps for these big events, which are really fun. I feel like back in the day, you just sort of the gun went off and you waited and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to see my person. I don't really
Yeah.
know where I'm going to see them, how to get around. And now with the apps, that's become a total non problem because you can just keep up with your runner and track them. But also with the depth of these fields and all the athletes that you want to keep an eye on, those tracking apps have become such a big part of like watching the race. Like it's a companion with the broadcast, which I've found really enjoyable. Um,
And first of all, I just want to thank TCS for helping us out again and supporting us. They were the first people to ever support the pod. So pretty cool that they're back and that they believed in us before we had merch.
yeah,
Um,
huge.
before we were cool enough
Big
to
time
merge.
now.
But the app is so helpful. Think about it. When I was last year, I was tracking you in Chicago and Carrie.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, we need to move now, or we have more time, or whatever, right? Like, I mean, seriously, like little things like that are so helpful. And it's funny because I have like a folder on my phone of all the different tracking apps.
Oh, nice.
And it is so essential watching, having the app, right? Being able to track people. Like it's totally changed the way you follow the marathon. And you're right. Before it's like archaic. And you know what? We experienced that a little bit at the Olympics, right?
I was just gonna say that, yeah, which is wild.
We're like, well, we don't know.
It's the
As soon as
pace.
we can get an update, we'll let you know. But it's like if that was the New York City Marathon, we'd be getting updated information constantly on
Right.
where the athletes were. So it's so helpful as a broadcaster, but just as a fan and everything. And I feel like it's how you watch the marathon now. It's a huge
Yes.
part of how you're watching it.
There's TCS is so into technology, and I'm always like, what could I pitch them that would be interesting that like they could make the experience better? And I was thinking about this the other day. It probably wouldn't work, but I'm gonna just say it out loud anyways, and maybe people can add on or add their own things that they would like to see around the marathon and the broadcast, so on and so forth. But if they did, like Waze, you ever use the Waze app where it's like,
Yeah,
hey, this is not the good route. If they had a spectator guide that was like Waze for like seeing your athlete, this is a projected time. This is the best route to see them on the course. This is the number of points you could get to based on their projected pace.
that would
Imagine,
be
I think that'd be cool. So
amazing.
just think about it, guys. Chew on that. I know it's they have a ton of things coming out for this year's marathon that I think people are going to be really excited about. We can't talk about all of it yet, but we will talk about some of it soon. So probably won't jump that line, but for the future, TCS, Ways, I don't know, you'd have to rename it.
I know.
Spectating ways. Show me the ways.
Show me the ways. I love that. I need that
Yeah.
because I'm really bad with maps and stuff like that.
Like, no, you're going the wrong direction.
I
This
like
way.
literally weighs everything all the time. Adam will be like,
Yeah.
"You've been here 100 times." I'm like, "I just want to be sure."
Yeah. And they're like, oh, there's a cop on the course. It's better if you
Right.
duck a rope over there. You know what I mean?
Can't cross there.
Awesome.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that stuff's good to know. That's a good idea.
All right. I
Pitched.
think
You
that's a
pitched it.
big winner, yeah, for me. All right. Well, I think broadly fall marathons are going to be great. We'll get into the nitty gritty as the weeks go by, but we did want to introduce TCS as a sponsor coming up for the next couple shows, and just a great group of folks who have supported us for a long time. So we're excited to talk about all they do for running. Um, oh, do you want to end with a sad one, or do you just want to like hit pause on that and do it at its own separate time with the proper respect? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Um, I mean, we can quick mention it. I also think we have to go back and quick talk about Brussels, right?
Oh yeah, go for it. Give me some Brussels insight.
Okay. Well, you teased this a little bit in the beginning because you talked about how
Oh
Colt
yeah,
has
you're
to
right.
meet the minimal
I
requirement of
forgot about
races
that.
to be able to run, which is he has to go to 5 practices before he's allowed to race. So he won't be allowed to race this Wednesday. But a lot of chatter, positive and negative. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, it was announced that she was running the 200 and the 400 at the Brussels Diamond League Finals. She even put it on her social media. And then people were like, wait, what? How is that
Pump the brakes.
possible? That's not how it works. And so, yes, there is a wild card that's allowed to come. Everybody would love it to be her. However, you have to have competed. The rule is clear. You have to have competed in one Diamond League event. There's 14 different Diamond League races. You have to have participated in one, or even you could even drop out of one if you were injured, but you have to start one to be eligible for the wild card. So after this big announcement that she was going to be running the 200, 400 meter double, which a lot of people were excited about and thought world records might go down, there was a little rewind the tape, and turns out she's not actually allowed to do that. And so now she's going to be, I think in the pre-program, she's going to be running the 200 and the 400. But a lot of opinions on social media about this, that this is bad for the sport, this is good for the sport, this is how track and field shoots themselves in the foot. I mean, people I respect saying like, this is the worst decision track and field's ever made. Des Linden, give us your hot take.
My opinion. I think The rules are there. We all knew them. They're not that difficult. They're not that difficult. One race, one Diamond League, and you're all set. Why is this last one the most important that you're like, I will have to be it? What's the difference between Brussels and Zurich? And there might be a dramatic difference, but why couldn't you just, you know, do that same double, arrange it with the organizers, or just do a single Diamond League during the year? So I don't fault them for saying no, and they've still been very accommodating. I mean,
Mhm.
it's still going to happen, just not in the same capacity. I have a hard time with track and field shoots itself in the foot, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. I would just be curious. I would need data for that. Like, I think the Caitlin Clark effect we've seen, right? You have the NCAA numbers, which are bananas. You see the spike, you see the WNBA, you see the spike in the numbers. They left her off the Olympic team, and it was like, oh, this is, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That was one of the only NBC reports where they had less viewership than past Olympics. Everything else had a bump. I mean, correlation, not necessarily causation, but yeah, I got to imagine we would have seen a similar spike as everything else that Caitlin Clark has touched. I am unaware of Sydney providing that same spike.
Mhm.
So I would just want to see that before I say we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Like, does she bring something? Sure. Does she move the needle dramatically where it's like, I would stick to the rules unless I had really great numbers that showed otherwise. That's my
But
2 cents.
also, and this isn't, I think Sydney McLaughlin-Lerone is
It's
amazing.
not
I love
about
watching
her,
her
right?
race. Yeah, this is not about her. But if we want the sport to grow, a one-off is not like we just talked about the Karsten versus Mondo. Is that actually going to grow the sport? Probably not. But it's, if we want people to show up and race, it's okay that we have structure. This is the Diamond League final. This is our athletes that have been racing since May that earned their spot, or April, some of them, I think, to get their spot in this final. It's okay to have a set of rules that's very, very accommodating, right? Um, I guess I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say here. I'm basically just trying to say I can't even believe this is an issue without making it seem like I'm insulting Sydney, because this isn't about her. But it's just like how it, and this, I agree with you. We don't have any data points that she brings the audience because we don't see her race very often. We just don't. And that's the reality of it. And so when she's watching, she's in the Olympics, we're all tuning in, but everyone's tuning in because it's the
Right.
Olympics. And so it's hard to know if she draws, are people going to not watch Brussels now because she's not there? I mean, it was only announced that she was going to run it for like 36 hours. And then it was like, oh, wait, that actually can't happen.
JK.
Yeah, just kidding. And also a whole nother topic, but how does that get announced?
Right. That's a
Like, how did
clusterfuck.
that even happen?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just feel like this isn't track and field shooting itself in the foot. This is track and field saying, this is how track and field works. This is the Diamond League final. You know, people are saying, who cares about the Diamond League? Well, obviously you do, because
A
you're
lot of
all
a lot of
hot and
folks
bothered
do.
about it now. Yeah.
A lot of folks do
And
competed
like,
all year in it.
yeah, what's the Diamond League? I don't know. It's where we've seen all the world records from Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Faith Kipyegon and all these other people. Like,
Mondo and
yes,
Karsten and
right. So I don't know. It's just, it's too bad that it worked out this way. But I think people need to calm down. And if you're still a fan and you still think she's going to change it by being there, she's going to run in the pre-program. I'm sure it'll be streamed
right.
somewhere. Go
I
and
think
watch it
that's right. That's an interesting part too. They'll probably cut into the main feed and be like, "Oh, and here's a
and re-show
recap,"
it.
and it'll just
Yep.
be a Sydney recap, which is great.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of hope that she could break the world record in the 400, which,
Hmm.
based on all of her performances, seems like a very realistic goal for her. And now there's some concern that the competition won't be as good, right? So people wanted to see her versus Paulina, the Olympic
Right.
champion, and now they won't see that. Again, I can't believe that this wasn't thought through ahead of time. Like you said, just run Zurich or
A long year.
something, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, and then I think some of this stuff will factor into the Michael Johnson League as well. And there's going to be a lot of questions about managing the racing and the season and I think
I'm going to drop some gossip here. Okay.
go for it. I love gossip. Breaking.
I'm not going to say who I heard it from. I'm not going to give all the detail, but we have a lot of big
I
names
teed that up.
that have signed on to this Michael Johnson thing. And I'm hearing there's already pushback from athletes and agents about having to race 2 events at 4 different meets. So if the whole concept of the event is that we're going to see your favorite people race twice over a 3-day period, 4 times, and I'm hearing that there's already pushback on that. I'm just wondering, is Grand Slam going to change their rules? Are they going to hold the athletes to it? What does that look like moving forward? Anyway, that whole thing is going to be
Right.
very, very fascinating
Are they
because,
shooting the sport in the foot if they
right,
change
right.
their rules?
Yeah. If they change their rules, like, then is it fine? I mean, just to be clear, like Grand Slam hasn't confirmed this or announced that. This is just like gossip I've heard. But
Yeah.
it makes sense to me with the names I've been told that they would be like, wait a minute, I have to race 8 times.
The double is in itself is such a interesting part of the league that I just can't wrap my mind around.
Do you think it would have been better if they said it's a 1-day meet and you have to race once, obviously, but it's 4 meets and you have to race once?
I think that they need to really pick the events they want to showcase and just do them really well. Get the 4 best people and then the 4 best challengers and put them in their marquee event and make it about who's the best in that event instead of trying to accommodate like more distances. Like, because I mean, the 8:15 thing, you got 3 really great 15 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like the balance of that is, it doesn't tell me much. It just doesn't do it for me personally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be part of the thing that makes it struggle. Like, I guess you're the best mid distance guy, but I just want to know who, like, let's just pick one event and do it really well. And at the end of the season, being like, this is the 1500-meter champion. And
Yeah.
then if the league grows, like, then you can add in, okay, it's gotten bigger, it's gotten better. Let's add in an 8. Let's add in and then do those really well.
I think I hadn't thought about this as much before until like literally we're talking about it right now. So judge
Same.
me, that's fine. This is Kara's fresh brain. Why are we trying to do a 3-day track meet, 4 3-day track meets? We have a hard time filling the stand for a 1-day track meet. Let's just do 1-day track meet really, really well and grow it
Mm-hmm.
from there. I mean, I was invited to like some of the Grand Slam stuff, but like I couldn't get myself to LA or wherever to see this stuff. So I don't know it as well as I probably should to be speaking on it. But I love the idea of trying something new and trying to grow the sport. But I think locking people into a 3-day meet where they have to race twice, it's asking a lot. And if we want to see
Mm-hmm.
these head-to-head matchups, let's just do 4 1-day awesome meets. I mean,
I agree with
again,
that.
that's what the Diamond League is, but that's okay. Like we can
But
try it in a
the
slightly different
difference is,
format
can you contract the best athletes and guarantee they're going to be at 4, and all the best are always going to be at the
at these
4?
4 meets.
And
Yeah.
it's the same concept. Like, if you took the Diamond League and said, like, there's too many events, this is like doubling back to, like, let's tighten it up and just make sure that the Diamond League has everyone, but we're going to do less meets.
Right.
So either way, but I think
Mhm.
doing it really well with the best athletes as many times as is reasonable so that they can be ready and primed for it. Like, what's that number? How many races is that? And I don't think either necessarily hits on it. Like, the
Right.
doubling is not quite it, but then the length of the season of the Diamond League, maybe that's not it either. So there's a sweet spot there. Um, but obviously that's buffet. I'm sitting over here being like, well, if I were doing it, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not interested in doing
that's why
it.
we have our pod. We get to do
That's
that.
exactly it.
We
Yeah,
get to
I'm
talk
just
about
chatting
it.
about it. Yeah. In an ideal world, yeah.
I
Anyhow.
mean, the thing about the Diamond League is it's like as athletes are coming off injury or whatever, like they can kind of pick and choose, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. There's
Right.
always a superstar at each Diamond League, and it's one of the challenges of track and field is that it is a long season and that athletes perform differently. And like, look at, we were talking about it earlier. Jakob Ingebrigtsen is an athlete that wants to run once a week, all season long. Josh
Mm-hmm.
Kerr I put all my eggs in one basket, and it's been extremely successful for him. He won the bronze in Tokyo, gold in Budapest, silver this year. Like, it's been extremely successful. Not every athlete is wired the same. And so understanding that, like, we're not going to see Josh Kerr at 14 Diamond League races. We might see Jakob at 12 though, because he's the kind of guy that uses those races as part of his fitness, right? Like, he doesn't go to the well in training, he does it in the races, and that's okay. Both of those are actually fine and great. And so it's like, that's one of the challenges of our sport, is that it is hard to get people to go head to head all the time because everyone's very, very different. And that's why Grand Slam, Grand Slam, Grand Slam track league's intriguing. But as I'm
Mhm.
thinking about it out loud, like really thinking about it, I guess for the first time, I just wish it was a 1-day meet. I don't understand why we're asking athletes to double and why we're trying to do a 3-day meet. I mean, how are we going to fill these stands for 3 days? It's a track meet.
It's a big ask for year one too. Like, because if you don't fill it and you're an investor, like how patient can you be? You
Hmm.
know, and if you look on day like the second meet, day two, and you're like, dude, there's nobody here,
Right.
and so it's a lot for year one to expect to get all 3 days to meet people's expectations. Is
Speaking
my
of the same group of people, though, Josh Kerr, Yard Nuguse, and Cole Hawker have all signed on to Grand Slam, which is cool. We are going to see them race each other multiple times throughout the year. Ingebrigtsen hasn't, though. Don't we want to see him too?
right? Isn't that the matchup that like sort of tell like those are the big four? That's the one that tells
Right.
you who the best in the world is. So then does it just go back to the world championship?
Right. Which, by the way, that's
Which is
okay.
fine. Yeah,
Right.
totally fine.
That's why it's special.
But and then how many people are going to be like, well, I was on the league and that impacted my training for well championships. I wish I had structured my schedule. You know, there's just a lot of moving pieces. It'll be fun to watch play
Yeah,
out,
it'll
and
be
I
really
hope they're
interesting.
all successful. I do have one question for you as we talk through
Yeah.
this. If you made a 10K league, how many races a year could you have and expect them to be high quality races?
So
What's
we've
the
talked a little bit
maximum at a
about
10K?
this, and this is kind of like a love project that you and I want to make happen. I love the 10K. I feel like it's dying. I feel like there needs to be more opportunity. If someone is a 10K runner, I think they could run 2 or 3 really high quality 10Ks leading up to the championship, which would make them better at the championship. Because the situation we may have right now is where people time trial to get into the US championship or to hit the standard. Then they run a tactical US championship, and then they go to the world championship or Olympics. So at max, they're running 3 in 1 year, max. And I think they need at least one more, possibly 2, to really learn the event, be honed in it. And maybe it means a longer season, and maybe it means like, hey, there's a 10K in February. Maybe there's one monthly, right? And they don't have to do them all. But I think if you could do 2 super high quality 10Ks before the US championship, and then you're going through the US championship, you have more tools in your belt, right? You're getting through that. Then you're more ready and more prepared for actually doing something at the World Championship or Olympics. I mean, Grant Fisher figured it out. Obviously, he only raced 2, or he raced 3, I guess, because he did the time trial one, U.S. champs, and then Worlds. But I think if we want to save this event, we need to see people racing it more often. But I'm just like shooting from the hip here. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I that was a question for you because you're the specialist, but I do
Especially, I
think
ran
like
it for like 2 years.
no, I mean, but you ran it very well for both of those years. Um, I just it would be interesting because there's obviously again Grand Slam is not filling that void
No,
for the 10K, and the Diamond League does not have that opportunity. And like we're just seeing it slip through the cracks again and
right.
again. But in itself, like it could be a standalone. Like let's just have a league, a 12-month league, and we're gonna put together two that feed into world champs, or maybe it's one at the end of it. You could
I
bump up
mean,
to four.
I think you could race a hard 10K every 3 weeks if you needed to or wanted to. But let's just
Yeah.
say we give them 2 more opportunities that are 3 or 4 weeks apart,
Mm-hmm.
coupled with the time trial races. I don't know. I just feel like that event is dying. And unless we start storytelling it, I mean, Grant Fisher did us all a
Yeah.
favor by winning that medal. Now let's take that momentum and build off of it. We have JJ Watt talking about how exciting the 10K is. Okay, guys, we
Let's
got something. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, or
give him
add it
something
to
to
freaking
watch.
Grand Slam. I don't know, but like get it out there and get running it and let's story tell it and talk about how hard it is and how unique it is. And yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
and
This, yeah,
full circle, if you go back to the Mondo Karsten matchup where it was, I mean, what was the time frame? It was probably a 30-minute show. So if you put that's your 10K, you know?
yeah.
That's and it was a great show. You got good storytelling, you could develop things. It's interesting, you could hype it up. It kind of is the perfect time slot.
It really is. And in that situation, you could be going to athlete interviews during the race, right? Like we could be interviewing the athletes ahead of time, the day before, 2 days before, talking about the different stages of the race. And we could be queuing up their voices at the 2K mark, at the 8K mark.
Mhm.
What are they thinking now? And we could really be bringing people into what the event is. Basically, I think we're going to do this.
I mean, this yeah, like we're actually talking about something that could potentially happen and
Right.
we've been talking about this behind the scenes, but this is the first like let's put it out there. We did this with merch and look at here we
Yes.
are
Look at
in our merch. It took a while. It's not the greatest. It's going to get better. I think it's actually pretty great.
It's actually great.
Um
Yeah.
yeah. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a 10K series in our future, in your
Yeah.
future.
You
All
already
right.
asked
Well,
us
we
10K. Okay.
yes, I love it. Well, we have to do a
Oh,
top 5. Go ahead.
okay. Well, I was going to say
No,
we never talked about the Paralympics, which also
we
feeds
have
into this
so much.
conversation.
Okay, do you wanna talk about it? Go for it.
I just want to
Give
quick
me a
say the
yeah.
Paralympics were awesome. Obviously, I didn't follow it as closely as the regular Olympics because I wasn't working it, but they were all awesome. And I just wrote down like a few highlights that I wanted to say.
Go for it.
Hunter Woodall winning the 400 after his wife, Tara Davis Woodall, won the
What a
long jump.
story. Yep.
It was so cool to see them supporting each other. And he had been, I think he was fifth in the 100, but to see him win the 400 was awesome. There's a swimming athlete called Evan Austin who, in his last Paralympics race, got fourth. He did not get a medal. And when they were asking him about it, I love this quote. I'm rushing this, I know, but I just want to talk about this.
No, take your time.
Um, he said, if you're not good enough without a medal, you'll never be good enough with it. And I was just like, oh, what great
Yeah.
perspective. So awesome perspective from Evan Austin. And then Susanna Scaroni always is impressive.
Mhm.
She won 2 more bronze medals. A good friend of mine, Jenna Fessmeyer, placed ninth in the 5,000. She made the final there. And then Tatiana McFadden,
Icon.
21 career
Yeah.
Paralympic medals. I mean, it was just so cool. And it's cool to see. I was obsessed with the archery, just athletes in a different realm, but it's mind-blowing what these athletes do. So the Olympics are really over now and I'm sad.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I
But
mean, I guess to just tiny knot on that, like, the athleticism expressed in a different way is very cool, and it's amazing to see because you think of it as a certain thing, and then you watch someone be so athletic, and it sort of expands what you thought was possible, which is what you would think the Olympics would like. Oh, I didn't think that people could run that fast. And then you watch the Paras, like, I didn't think that you could do it that way and that fast and that well, or whatever it is. So it's
right.
just like it opens your mind to, we put these barriers on ourselves all the time and we shouldn't because we can accomplish so much.
100%. There was a female on the rugby team, the first ever female on the rugby team. It was just awesome. But I did want to say one thing, and this is could be a topic for another time, but
Hmm.
they were interviewing one of the para athletes after his track event, and he was saying, how come we're not invited to Diamond League? And it really got me thinking, you don't think people want to see Tara Davis cheering on her husband, Hunter Woodall, in the 400 at the Diamond League meets or Grand Slam track league? So anyway, I'm just putting it out there. Grand Slam, Diamond League, you should think about accommodating these athletes and having a few races. I think people would love it. It gives these athletes another opportunity to shine instead of just every 3 years when we actually pay attention. These athletes are training all the time, full time.
Hmm.
So I just think we've done it with the majors, and why aren't we doing it with track and field? Like, why aren't we doing that?
Great
That's all.
question.
Okay.
Great question.
There
I
you
don't
go.
have an answer, but that is a longer topic too. I think that would be an interesting pod. larger picture.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right,
So
I'm
are we
not going to bring up our last bit of sad news. We can
okay.
talk about
Okay.
that in its own episode. I think that should really probably start a show so that we don't have to end.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's do a top five. How you feeling
Okay.
about top five? We have an Olipop top five today. Hey, you got the new one too.
Oh, you
Cheers.
got it too? Have you
Yeah.
tried it?
I no, Ryan's drank them all. I
Okay,
was like,
so
you have to save me one because I need to do a social post for them.
I
Um,
know.
and I was like, I need the can to do that. So
So
go ahead,
this
tell me
flavor
about
is
it.
like my childhood.
Oh,
My family is, I'm just going to say it, hardcore Mountain Dew people.
oh, there we go. Okay.
And this is like a lighter, healthier version of that. And this is not to, I'm never going to knock on Mountain Dew because it's a huge part of my family. But this is really good. So if you do the
Okay.
dew,
Do the
you
do.
can do this. It
That's
is
what the
very good.
flavor is. Okay.
But
Love it.
it has a,
Well,
yeah, it's really good. It's very
this is
refreshing.
the Ridge Rush, a new flavor from Olipop. Apparently, it's do the do if that's your jam. Haven't tried it yet. It has citrus, lemon, lime, orange, maybe. And then the thing I love about this is that it has green tea caffeine in it. So right around 3 o'clock when I want to pass out for the day, I crack one of these suckers and get a little caffeine kick, but
There you
also get
go.
some fiber and some prebiotic help for my belly. So top five, a special top five from Ridge Rush, Olipop Ridge Rush. All right, you want to kick it off?
I'm going to kick it off and just say that this makes me think of my grandparents who took a dew break every day of their lives, and they would take a dew break. Adam was fascinated when he learned about dew break. Sometimes it's a full can day, sometimes it's a split a can day. But
Aw,
this,
so
when I
cute.
opened it and tasted it, I thought of my grandparents, which they were hugely impactful in my life. And they lived to be 95 and 96. And so I just want to thank Olipop because this flavor has been awesome. Like it has made me,
Nostalgic.
it makes me super happy. Yeah. So shout out to my grandparents and thank you, Olipop, for helping me remember them.
I like that. That's great. All right, this is kind of off the wall, but fun. This weekend, Ryan and I went to an international fireworks competition in
Nice.
Traverse City, which crazy. People in the Midwest love fireworks.
Oh,
So they
yeah.
did these three shows. There was a team from the UK, there's a team from the Philippines, and a team from India. And they were like 15-minute shows. They paired with the music. By the end of it, I was like, oh, that was a big miss to not. Like, I was very into critiquing it. And I was like, oh, the music could have been better. Like, you could have added to the beat with the sound of the popping of the fireworks. So, what I'm saying is, if like 5 years from now, I have three fingers, but I'm a contest winner. This is where it all started. We watched this at Traverse City at the Pit Spitters Stadium, which is a whole nother topic, but that's going to be in the top five for me for this week.
That is amazing. And based on the boating accident, I don't want you to light off fireworks.
Like a long fuse.
I'm like very worried for you.
Thumbs
I'm
up.
glad that you're excited, but okay. Well,
It's got to be
that's cool.
electronic.
You're
Okay.
right. Midwestern fireworks are just like
Love it.
love.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um this is going to be we've woven Brooks into this episode quite a bit, but I'm going to just shout out Josh Kerr for
There you
that
go.
pretty freaking amazing win at the Fifth Avenue Mile when he looked kind of tired in Zurich. And then he came out and won and broke the record. And I was like, damn, boy, you
Yeah.
still had more. You're
He
holding
had
out on
some
us.
pop. He had some pop left. What a season for him too. Just like
Yeah.
the indoor, he did the half marathon in San Diego, ran stupid
Hmm.
fast. That's a great one. I want to just point people to this as insider information. If you look closely at his shoe, you'll think Hyperion Elite 4, but there's some magic sauce going on in there. It's a nice
Nice.
little turned up version of it. And I think he alluded to it. I think that he was like, these are better than anything I've ever put on before. And I'm super happy about that. And I think just stay tuned because maybe there'll be news dropping about a turned up version of
Nice.
HE4. So
You have
insider
insider
info.
info I don't even have. That's what happens when you
No, no.
don't race
There's
anymore.
you look closely and there's this, you'll see a little hint of light blue. And
Ooh.
so
All right, all right.
do you want to add any more on that one? That's
No, just
you
that was
feeling
an
good about
awesome
that?
race,
Yeah.
basically, and now I wanna go look at the shoe. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go with, we talked about this a little earlier. But the NFL is back on, which is exciting for me. Both my teams won yesterday. The Chargers beat the Raiders. That could be the end of the season, and I would die a happy person. And then overtime game, the Lions beating the Rams. Matthew Stafford leaving Ford Field in tears again. Beautiful stuff. But all in that mix was Grant Fisher being recognized during the NFL game. I think NBC does an awesome job of showcasing the Olympians, and that moment for him was super cool. And they talked about what a great accomplishment and what, the 10 and the 5 and how long it's been since those have happened and how he's impacting the sport. So to have that on the national broadcast Sunday night, super cool for Grant, super cool for track and field, and super cool for distance running. So that's
Yeah,
a top 5 for me.
that's a good one. I feel like you should
Bring
end
us
it.
home.
Well, the one
Oh,
thing I had written down, I already let slip, which was that Colt's gonna go try to run today. And I'm just grateful he is bouncing back and he's got a lot more energy. He's still working on the weight part of it, but he's doing great. And he's doing so great that he's going to go to practice today and see what his body gives him. And I'm just pumped to see that for him. So that was going to be one of
that's
my earlier
beautiful.
ones, but
I
I
think
feel
that's
like you could.
perfect.
All right. Okay.
No, I have two things that we have already talked about. So that I think Colt is a fantastic way to end the show. He's on the mend. He's inspiring us all. I will say I'll add a little personal note on that. I did a workout yesterday and it actually went pretty well. I think
Oh,
there's hope for
good.
me. So Colt and I are on the same trajectory. We're like, maybe there's a chance for us, you know?
So you're saying
I
there's a
think
chance.
we got a chance. And that's, I think, what better way could you end the show with than you got a chance? Get after it.
Perfect.
Oh, wait, that's a Carrie Tollefson. You got a chance. Go get him, Tiger.
Keep showing up. You can say
There you
that.
go.
That's
Love
your
it. Keep
phrase.
showing up. Chris is asleep.
Chris is sleeping because we're ruining his time in Mexico.
I know. I feel bad.